Hey everybody, I just thought it was time to review this DPS turbo I put on my 2014 Dodge Ram. I bought from DPS a third gen swap kit, and you can see their DPS manifold there. What I bought to put on it was a S36673. It's a VGT and it has the ball bearing core. Also, what's really nice about their kit is it actually does the exhaust braking. There's a controller over here, as you can see, and actually I took the sticker off that controller just to make it look a little more black and stocked. But that controller manages their exhaust braking, and I just wanted to review that today and let everyone know how it performs on my truck. Yeah, I just want to talk for just a minute. You know, I had the stock turbo on and it was a pretty small wheel. And I was surprised. I put the 66 on ball bearing and it spools up just as fast as the stock turbo did. I'm surprised that it's so responsive on the low end. And we'll talk about performance in just a minute, but I really like to start off talking about how the install went. All right, so the install actually isn't easy no matter what you do, but I followed DPS's directions. I thought they were pretty clear. And actually, when I installed, they have you attaching the manifold to the entire turbo assembly, and that probably works fine. I decided to do it a little differently. The reason you got to do it attached is because there's bolts on the back side of the manifold where it mounts onto the turbo. I don't know if you can see it clearly down there, but they're really hard to get to because you're trying to get between the block and the turbo once you got the manifold on. So better to have the turbo installed on the manifold. I chose to take the core and the compressor housing off, and I installed it that way first, partly because it's just so heavy and I was just doing it by myself, and trying to hold that in place and get the bolts in is really hard. But once you have less weight, it's pretty easy to put on. I think the only challenging part still though is the bolts that are on the, and I don't think you can see them, but the bolts that are on the back side of the turbo down on the bottom under the manifold, they're just really hard to get to. You just have to work your way in there to be able to get them in place. So the other challenging thing for me was just trying to get the bottom part of the oil drain into the block. It doesn't slide in easy. They recommend you don't put any grease or oil on it because that will cause problems with the rings. So it was just trying to get the leverage to get it to slide in. And there's a bar that goes across there. I don't know if you can see it, but I kind of used that as leverage, and I was able to jimmy it into the block pretty easily. So I mean, those are the two challenging things. Otherwise, it was really easy to install. Everything fits really nicely, and as you can see, it just looks like a really clean install. So they did a good job of measuring and fitting it to this truck. So originally I was thinking about buying a second gen swap, but it requires retrofitting too much, and I saw that DPS had this third gen swap which just is designed for this truck, and so I purchased that, and I'm so glad I did. I guess back again to the installation, overall I think it fits really well, and as you can see there's plenty of room around it on the top, and didn't really have any issues with all of the redirect lines and the things that come in the kit. Their kit was pretty comprehensive, so I appreciated that. I also think I mentioned a little bit earlier that I did do the electronic braking version of this VGT. So I'll talk about this in just a minute. I'll take you inside the cabin and I'll show you the ability to adjust this on the fly. But because it's electronic, they have an automatic on the fly adjustment. Now these cables I basically had to route, as I was saying, I put the extra here, but had to route them across because you've got to connect into the VGT. There's some sensors you have to connect into, and then it also connects into the CAN bus of the truck. In fact, the cabling is kind of nice. They give you quite a bit extra so you can route it wherever you want. I mean, I wasn't that big a deal for me, so I just kind of tied up the extra there. But I will tell you, the braking is awesome. I was really surprised that it can brake just like the factory can. All right, well, I want to talk about the inside of the cabin and how the install went there. You can see my EFI Live dial there, and then I have the two dials that come with the kit that I purchased. One's for the exhaust braking, and that's for my deleted truck. And that switch actually enables it. And then this other is their unique dial for their VGT. This dial, as you can see, has a bunch of settings, and I can turn it and calibrate it right here on the fly. So unlike other VGTs where you have to calibrate it under the hood, I can do this while I'm driving down the road. And then if I go up in altitude or down to sea level, I can change the calibration to match whatever my driving is. So it's pretty nice that way. So why don't I go ahead and start the truck up now. Yeah, so just to summarize, I'm really pleased with this DPS VGT, that third gen swap that we've installed. Again, a beautiful install, the manifold's neat, the whole rerouting, everything worked well for me. But overall, the performance is what's really impressive to me. Again, like I was talking about earlier, with that ball bearing core, the spool up is about 12 to 1300 RPM, which I really like. And then on top of that, the high end is really performs well for my towing. I mean, I've found that with that bigger turbo and the calibration on the dial, I can really tune in good performance while I'm towing with this vehicle. So overall, I'd highly recommend this third gen swap from DPS.